we want to say today, we want to move as quickly as we can. And we want to talk about what I want to say. Who are you listening to? Who are you listening to? That is the topic we want to discuss very quickly this evening. You agree with me that the person you are listening to has influence over what you become and the kind of things you do. In life, you meet people. Some you think you're never going to meet again. Some you wonder what had happened to them. There are also some that you wonder if they ever think about you. Both of you had parted. And then there are some you wish you never had to think about again. Yet you still do think about them. This is coming as a result of one influence or the other they have had in your life, in your marriage, in your family, in your relationship. Some of these influences could be positive, they could also be negative in nature. You will agree with me that some people come into our lives and they go and fizzle out so quickly that sometimes you never get to remember that such people ever got into your life in the first place. Some stay for a while, but they leave footprints on our hearts. And we are never, ever the same after such people depart from us. What makes us never to be the same is as a result of the kind of influence they have had in our lives. The kind of footprints they have left on our hearts. And for such people to remain ever present in our lives, I want to agree and I want to conclude that the influence must have been a positive one. And so, the kind of person or people you are listening to as a man, as a father, as a husband, matters. The kind of person or people you are listening to as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, equally counts. And that goes to show how dependent on the external source you are to events or activities or things happening in your marriage and in your own family. There is this saying, they say, tell me who your friend is and I will tell you who you are. That simply means, if we should borrow another English proverb, they say, birds of the same feather flock together. It is difficult to have a gossip as a friend and not be a gossip yourself. It is very, very difficult, almost impossible. Because if you don't lend your ears to your friend that is a gossip, she won't gossip with you. She won't feel comfortable gossiping with you. Because she knows or he knows that each time he makes an attempt to gossip or each time she makes an attempt to gossip, that you will always discourage him or her or show lack of interest in her gossiping tendencies and attributes. What am I trying to say this evening? That the person we are listening to, or the kind of things we are listening to as family people, as husbands, as wives, as a woman to become a wife, as that young man to become a husband, the kind of people you are listening to and the kind of things you are listening to and putting into your own system, rightly or wrongly, shapes the way you turn out in your marriage, in your relationship, in your family, and to a larger extent in your own life. Therefore, what matters most is that you must be conscious of the kind of people you are listening to. Take, for instance, a woman. You are married, you have a friend, and somehow or somewhere along the line, you are having misunderstanding, you have an issue with your husband, as the case may be. And you have this your friend, and you feel, okay, she's your best friend, and you want to share what is going on in your family and your marriage with your friend. It is allowed. But then, you suddenly realize that the kind of advice your friend is giving you is misleading. Misleading in the sense that your friend suddenly begins to tell you that, oh, men are the same. Don't trust men. But when a friend begins to tell you that, oh, don't mind men, you think my own is any better? Oh, look, I've learned to tackle it in my own way, pay him back in his own coins. Whatever he does to me, I pay him back in the same coin. In other words, if the issue with your husband is that he's coming home late hours, or he's putting out attitudes that you no longer understand, your friend is directly telling you that you should begin to behave the same way. When you begin to listen to such friends, to such advices, what do you expect? Because I have always said there are no two marriages that are the same anywhere. That's why God created us all in different ways. You see what I mean? Because what makes you happy makes the other person maybe unhappy, makes the other person feel disgusted, makes the other person feel irritated. That means what works in your marriage may not work in the other marriage. And so, it is wrong for you to begin to listen to an advice from somebody who probably their marriage have already collapsed or headed for divorce to apply to your own marriage. The same way, when you are a man and you are not happy in your marriage and you are expecting your friend to be a solution, and you go talking to your friend is giving you an advice and telling you, just treat you that way. Have you forgotten the way we used to do it before we got married? That's the only way to make yourself happy. Do you really get what I'm saying? What I'm trying to imply this evening is that the kind of things you listen from your friends, from your associates, from family members can make or mar your relationship. This is the point I'm trying to make. In other words, it is not everything that comes out from a friend's mouth is good to be taken very, very seriously. You see what I mean? Because your friend may have applied it and it worked for him. It may not work for you. For example, if you're having an issue and your friend begins to tell you that the best way to get your wife to succumb, the best way to make your wife to see, to reason with her senses is to stop eating her food, or is to start coming home late hours, is to go and have a partner outside, to have a relationship outside that will be making you happy. My friend, you are heading to the rocks, because both of you came together and said, till death do you part. That means even quarrel is not sufficient to split that marriage. That means misunderstanding is allowed. That means the only thing that is permissible, the only thing that is permitted to split that marriage is supposed to be death. If we understand the concept of getting married in the first place, then we'll be a lot better for it. Who are you listening to? That's what we are discussing this evening. The influence of parents, yes, is good. It's good. But then and then again, let us look at it this way. We say the first adults to help shape most of our lives naturally are our parents, or the person who raised us from childhood, from infancy, whichever way you want to put it. But our parents just understand that we shared our genes with them, and in doing so, they created the basis for the beginning development of our personal, traits. Of course, not merely physical or even personality-wise, because you will agree with me, all of these things differ. Even though your father may be very tall, but you may be a short person, does not mean that it is not your father that gave birth to you. But then, it gets to a stage in life that the kind of advices parents give to their children, especially when they are married, are often biased. Biased in the sense that parents hardly blame their own child for being at fault in some situations. For example, if you are having an issue with your wife or with your husband, and you run back to your parents to say, look, my husband has done this and all that. Most times, parents draw conclusions. Most times, parents wage war against the other partner. Most times, parents carry complaint to the other person's parents without necessarily taking time to look at what had transpired. What am I trying to say? If you base your information, if you base what you do and how you do them based on the kind of things your parents may have told you while you're in marriage or while getting to marriage at all times, you may not be enjoying your marriage the way you ought to be enjoying them. Because the advices parents give to their children most times, like I said, are biased. Most times are one-sided, because they want to protect the interest of their own child above the interest of the other child. They forget also that the man also comes from home and also has his own parents. Or the woman has parents and also comes from different homes. In other words, I hear some parents tell their daughters, look, you must not take any nonsense from your husband, because men, if you give them a mile, they take 10 kilometers. Whenever he wants to show that he knows everything, you need to stand up to his face and show him that, yes, you know your right and you know what you are doing. My dear listeners, There is no family that will live at peace. Confrontation does not help any family. That means the quality and the caliber of things you are listening to is very important. Weigh what you listen to, shuffle them. What is going to be the influence of this thing if I apply it to my marriage? What is going to be the outcome of this if I react the way this my friend has advised me to react? How will my husband feel if I begin to behave this way? If I now begin to also, okay, because my husband is behaving some kind of way, I will now sit down at the sitting room and cross my legs, according to the advice by my friend, that it works. It will make the man come to his senses. Have you sat down to think about the consequences of applying such to your marriage? Because like I said, what works in another marriage may not necessarily work in another. Because marriages are made up of human beings from different backgrounds. Imperfect human beings from different backgrounds. That means what this person will put into that marriage and what the partner will put into the marriage will differ from what you will put into your own marriage and what your partner will put into the marriage as well. That is why it is very, how do I put it now? It is very dangerous, very risky for you to carry hook, line, and sinker. That is, in its totality, what you have been advised to do by your friend or even by your parents in your marriage. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you that every advice given by parents are biased. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I say most, especially when it has to do with matters concerning you and your spouse. Parents are always and most times one-sided. This is what I'm simply saying. And it is now your responsibility to sit down and weigh how the influence of what your parents have told you, the influence is going to have in your marriage, or the kind of things your friends have advised you about, the kind of thing or effect is going to have in your marriage. Take, for instance, I want to get a bit personal. Okay, you run to your friend, a woman, you're a woman married to another man, and you want to go and share with your friends, oh, my husband likes having sex a lot. He disturbs me about it every now and then. You know, he wants to sleep with me 4 or 5 times every week and all that. I am getting tired and all that. Hey, listen, my dear friend. Listener out there. There are certain intimate, family, close matters that are supposed to remain closed within that family doors. That means no matter what, you can only share it to someone that you know that is outrightly and completely neutral, like a counselor who has no stake in your affair or in your husband's affair, but in the affair of the family. It's only the counselor that will tell you the honest truth, 100%, because he has no interest in the man or in the woman. His interest is to give you the best of advice that will rescue your family from where it is headed in the wrong direction. So when you go and tell your friend and share with your friend how you're having difficulty satisfying your husband and all that, and your friend tells you, oh, what kind of husband do you have? What kind of man is that? Does he want to kill you? Look, you need to stand up and tell him that, look, you are not a piece of wood that he should use anyhow and anytime he feels like. Listen to me, the danger in that, my dear listener, tonight. You are not with that your friend. You don't sleep with that your friend with her own husband. You don't know how they are doing their own thing. You don't know how many times they are doing their own. What you know is what she had told you. The truth remains behind closed doors between her and her own husband. In other words, what she is advising you to do is capable of making the man send you packing the next minute. Because when the man married you, he married you. Your body, your spirit, your soul, everything becomes part and parcel of what he owns in that marriage. It goes the same way. When you married your husband, everything that makes him becomes yours as well. Therefore, applying an advice of that nature is capable of tearing your marriage apart without knowing. You can take that advice ignorantly, but like they have always said, ignorance of the law is no excuse not to be punished. So when you go and steal from somewhere and you say, you didn't know that you should not have taken this, but the Lord said anybody who takes this has to face so and so punishment. You will not be set free because you didn't know. So the kind of information you gather and apply in your marriage has a lot to do with how far you will equally go in your marriage. And so, in as much as it's good to share information with your friends, share how you are faring in your family and all of that, it is dangerous to apply it in toto in your own marriage. It is very, very dangerous to apply an advice given to you by a third party into your own marriage. Because you know only your own. You don't know about the other person's own. Therefore, for a man who will come into a family and say, my friend, you mean you go to the kitchen to wash dish in the presence of your wife and children sometimes? Oh, come on, don't bring yourself so down and so low to do that. I think the wife should do that. You have grown-up children who should do that. Why go to the kitchen to wash dish? Listen, my dear friend. Who are you listening to? Are you listening to your friend or are you listening to yourself? Remember, maybe you have not heard or maybe you are not aware. Nature's first law is self-preservation. Let me repeat myself. I said, nature's first law is self-preservation. In other words, you must be selfish when matters concerning you is at stake. When it has to do with you and your spouse, when it has to do with the destiny of your marriage, when it has to do with something to do with your family, you must be very, very selfish and conservative about it. Because what matters most and what comes first is your happiness and the success of your marriage. And so it does not matter how many friends you displace to get your marriage working. It does not matter how your mother feels. It does not matter how your father feels or how your brother or how your sister feels. What counts most is, are you happy in your marriage? What counts most is your marriage growing? Is it making progress? Remember, I said the only way you can know that is when you continually weigh your marriage, put it on a scale. That is the only way you will know whether the influence of what people are telling you, what your family members are telling you, what your friends are telling you, the influence, whether it is making your marriage to grow or whether it's making your marriage to retrogress, to retard, to lose weight. You need to constantly gauge it. Most importantly, You need to listen to yourself, your inner man. What is yourself telling you? What is your God inside of you that you carry every time telling you? It is most important who you are listening to. Are you applying that thing you watched in the Nigerian movie to your marriage? Are you now saying we live in a modern world where the man and woman should be 50-50 in the marriage, they should do everything 50-50? Today you wash this, tomorrow the woman should wash, the other day the man should be the one to bath the children, tomorrow it will be your turn, the other day you should cook, the other time the man should cook or dish? Is that what you are doing in your marriage? Is it working for you? Is your husband happy that it is moving on that way? Is it an agreement born out of love? Is it done in a manner that will make everybody happy? Or is it now a question of, hey, look, you went to school, I went to school. This is a modern day marriage. I am no longer your slave. If you can't do this well, then leave it. After all, you earn money and I earn money. We are all responsible for what is happening in this home. You pay bills and I pay bills. My dear listener, listen and listen very well. There cannot be two captains under one boat in one ship. It does not work because the direction of the boat will be confused. There has to be a head. That means there must be a leader in the home. The man is the leader, the man is the head. So if anybody is speaking to you on the contrary, then such a thing you are hearing and applying to your marriage will be misleading and will lead you to a very catastrophic end in that marriage. Because God, who instituted marriage, made man the head of that family. And we all know and we have all agreed over and over again that God does not make mistakes. God had every right to make woman the head of the family, but he chose to make man the head of the family. So if your mother who holds a PhD degree is telling you that, look, don't take that from your husband. Come on. After all, you are more educated than he does. Why must he always sit down, cross-legged, and you are the one sweating in the kitchen? With all your education, listen. That is a misleading advice. If you take it, it's a question of time, it will boomerang. And you will be, in no time, you will find yourself looking for someone to apply that you are available. Because you would have long been divorced by that man. Can I warn you? Divorce is real. It is happening every day, and every day. As sad as it looks and sounds, not everybody is patient to tolerate some kind of obvious attitude in a home. Not everybody has the grace of God to tolerate. Not everybody has the understanding that marriage is a lifetime thing. Some are waiting for you to misbehave and they fire you. You will agree with me, whenever a marriage collapses, it is always the woman that is at most the losing end. Because it will take time and it will take the special grace of God for the woman to see someone else to say, I want to come and remarry you after you have been divorced by another man. Maybe you have had 1 or 2 or 3 even kids before the divorce. But for a man can divorce today and marry another woman tomorrow. That's why it can never be competition in the family. That a friend advises you what the man does, you should equally do. No. Let love reign in your homes. If you're thinking of getting married tomorrow, next tomorrow, anytime soon, my dear listener, you are there that you are yet to get married. Who you are listening to matters a lot. Are you listening to God that says, that you must obey your husband? Are you listening to God that says the man is the head of the family? Are you listening to God that says whatever happens, stay in that marriage, for better, for worse, till death do you part? Or are you listening to your friend that says, look, if I were in your shoes long time, I would have walked out of this man's life? Nonsense. I can't take that nonsense. For how long will he continue to treat you like a piece of rag and you stay there like a fool for the man to just use and treat anyhow he feels? Is that the friend are you listening to that friend? And you are considering telling your husband that, look, I think I have had enough of this? Or you husband out there, are you listening to your family members that are saying, look, this woman, you are married for 5 years now, there's no sign that she's going to get pregnant. Can't you get it? Can't you see it? It's clear. Look, go and get another wife. Who are you listening to? God says that none shall be barren. That is what I understand from God. If God makes a promise that everyone will have a child, why not wait for your own time? Listen to God. Listen to God, because God cannot mislead you. If God makes a promise, He will keep it, because God is not a liar. My dear listener, who you listen to has a lot to do with how far you will go in your marriage. If you apply the things God says we should do and we should not do, our marriages will last. If we listen to our inner man that pricks us when we do bad and when we do evil against our partners, our marriages will last long. Our relationships will blossom. Love will continue to radiate in our families. But who are you listening to? Are you listening to your mother? Are you listening to your father? Or are you listening to your friends? Weigh the kind of things you listen. Weigh the kind of people you are listening to. Weigh what they are telling you, and then make an assessment how to apply it in your marriage. Make an assessment what to apply and what not to apply. Because we are all human beings. We all make mistakes. One advice your friend will give you, your friend may even give you an advice that may actually even be genuine, coming from his or her heart, that he thinks or she thinks could settle the problem in your family. But it may not turn out that way. It may not turn out that way because he or she has limited knowledge about what can possibly happen tomorrow. Who are you listening to? Are you listening to the friends that say, look, disregard what your husband is saying, don't get pregnant, go and get your PhD finished or get your master's before considering getting pregnant? Because if you don't learn enough now, it is the same man that will kick you out tomorrow and say you didn't go, you are not educated. But your husband is saying we have to bear children now. But you choose to listen to your friend that says it is education completely before childbearing. Whom are you listening to? Whom are you listening to? Your friends tells you, look, man, you have outgrown this car now. You should get a bigger car. I mean, get a Jeep. Apply for loan from your office. I mean, by your status, you should not be driving this normal saloon car now. You're a big guy. You're a big man. You are this. And boom, you go get a loan to buy a car. Something happens. The car has an accident. Thereafter, you haven't finished paying the loan. Maybe the car is spoiled beyond repairs, but you have to pay back the loan. Whom are you listening to? Are you listening to people to impress them? That means you are keeping up appearance. just to satisfy people. Is that the kind of life you are living? Are you living the life of satisfying others above self? That's what I'm saying, my dear listener, tonight. You need to gauge what you are listening to, who you are listening to, how you apply them. As children growing up, we listen to our parents, we listen to them very well and all that advices they give to us and all that. Somewhere along the line, when we begin to attend schools and all that, we get influenced by friends and environment and the things we are taught in school, and it begins to shape our lives. But then, when you become an adult, you want to get married or you are married and all that, it becomes a different ball game altogether. You meet different kind of people with different intention. Some will even give you an advice that will suit them. Maybe a friend is divorced. He hasn't remarried and you are enjoying your marriage and all of that, and you begin to share your marriage problem with somebody who has divorced already. What do you expect? The person will begin to justify to you why he or she divorced in the first place. He said, these are the kind of things I was tired of tolerating, and I think it's high time I do something better with my life instead of dying inside the marriage. Look, my friends, God says you should die in the marriage. That means only death should separate you from your wife or from your husband. Let us begin to listen to what God says. Let us begin to listen to things that are only positive. Let us begin to listen to things that will only shape our marriages and our families for the better. Whom are you listening to? God hates divorce, I have said repeatedly here. And if God is the one that has put families together and instituted marriage, then we ought to listen to him. He's the one who says you and your spouse must come together as one. God did not tell you that you will not quarrel. God did not tell you that there will not be misunderstandings. God did not tell you that issues will not crop up that both of you will disagree on. God never told us that. Nobody will even tell you that. I will not tell you that, because there will be issues, there will be disagreements, there will be contentious times and moments in the family. But in all of that, God says that both of you should cling on it. Hold on, move on, carry on the marriage, move on as a family, find a way to resolve your differences, move on as one. Because when two of you got together, you became one. I paraphrase a verse in the Bible and in the Quran the last time I talked about becoming one, how the two of you come together, what the Bible says and what the Quran says about the mother, the father and the mother, the husband and the wife, what they are meant to be. The Bible will not lie and the Quran is not lying either. And so if anybody is telling you anything on the contrary, the person is only helping you to get to the end of the road of your marriage. If anybody is telling you anything contrary, anything that will make you to begin to think about divorcing your husband, something that will make you to begin to think of dumping your wife, something that will make you to now see your husband as useless and a non-entity, something that will make you no longer value your wife, that person is not helping you. That person needs to be trashed out of your family and out of existence in your relationship. Delete, as I would rather say. Such a person do not need to exist in the archives of your family system. Delete such a person from your list. Who are you listening to, my dear listener? Well, I leave you with that. Whoever you listen to, have at the back of your mind that it will either help to propel your family to progress positively, or will help to make your family retrogress speedily, faster, and head to its crashing point. Remember, marriage is like an egg. When it falls down on the ground, you can only gather the contents but you cannot piece it together again. Have you seen where the shell of an egg has been sewn? Never. No one can. No one can dare. That is how marriage is. My dear listeners, that is how far I want us to discuss this tonight. It is your moment now.